Alright guys, back with another video. This time I wanted to go over the deck that I've been playing for like the last little over a month. And I literally went undefeated, no lost matches. I did lose, I think, 3 games in total over 4 weeks. The rest were all dubs. This deck is super good, and I wanted to go in detail a little bit how mine differs from Joey's, but it is very similar, and it has a little, the list has adjusted each week, especially since I had to wait on a few cards to come in the mail, and I picked up a few things from locals on the way. And this is also going to be with side deck, so stay tuned for that. But if you know what this leader does, he's way better than I thought he was. He's similar to the original Yellow Brother leader: attack, take a life, draw a card. You don't have to take a life, so that's actually good in certain matchups where you don't have to do that. And then he also has another permanent, which is irrelevant when you have a skillless on board. Whenever he's unawakened, you get to gain 5k power. That is not relevant with this leader in this build specifically. And when you're at 4 less, you draw 2 unawakened, which is pretty important. Activate main, so he has 2 of them. Both are once per turn. Draw a card, then play up to 1 yellow skillless battle card with energy cost of 1 from your drop area. Very cool how that works. He just draws your card, and then whenever you combo with the monster card from your combo area, and you draw a card, and that's once per turn during either player's turn. So you attack on your awakened turn. I'll get into detail how that works later at the end of the video. You draw a lot of cards. So that's the leader. And since we're playing this leader, we have to play this guy. He's the only monster vanilla, and you need to play 4 copies of this guy. Probably could get away with 3, but you really want to at least see 1 copy to get the extra real plus. So 4 copies of him, and we're playing blue-yellow, so we'll go ahead and get into the standard things for a true blue-yellow deck. 4 Beerus Fickle God. This is your check land. He also has playable. When you play him, you draw a card. I did that a few times, not too many, because most of the time it doesn't come up, because you do want to charge it. Then you have 4 Zomasa Super Combo. The best super combo, honestly, especially with this deck and the amount of resting you can do, and that's very key, and I'll get into more detail about how that works and why this card is so important. 4 Hit Rapid Movement. This is essentially a free combo card. That's all. That's all it's used for in this deck. He has another effect, but we're not going to get into it. But he becomes a 5k combo as long as you have a blue-yellow in your energy, which you always will, especially unless you just happen to not see one new mulligan, which is very, very unlikely. 3 copies of Goku Hit. We did trim it down. Played 4 at the beginning. I did end up taking it out because I wanted to make room for these. So I ended up playing 2 copies of the SS Rose Goku Black, Divine Prosperity. This card replaced our Nimbuses, and because Nimbus is not really good in this deck, in the main deck specifically. I do side them, but honestly, it's not that great because you want to get to battle. But I can see in certain matchups it would be useful. But this card also has a niche where it can put something in your opponent's energy instead of just restanding to energy when you counter. That's why it's important. It's basically a free blue-yellow negate that becomes a body. 4 Bergamo. So I've tried this with 3, and I've tried this with 4, and it is nice to be able to charge this sometimes if you happen to pull a bunch of them. But a lot of times, if you resolve this once, you might win, but resolving this twice is really hard for them to deal with. Resting 2 of your opponent's cards and ignoring barrier because you rested something, paid 2 for a 20k body is pretty important to, this is a staple for every blue-yellow deck, or just yellow decks in general that can rest your opponent's cards. 4 Apes. So in this deck, you restand energy with your Aegis Bojack, which that is basically your goal, is to stick this guy and keep abusing him. And on your turn 2, you will play it on your opponent's turn, or you can play it on your turn, the Bojack, and then on their turn you can play this, or you can Bergamo them early, depending if they're playing a really aggro deck with little defense. You can sometimes just blow them out that way. And the last yellow card, battle card, that is Swift Retaliation Cooler. Joey's playing 2. I think 1 is fine in the main, and then 1 is side. I do draw this card a bit. And my list does play 4 copies of this card, so sometimes I do have to charge this on 2 to be able to play it. So Cooler's not live until turn 4 sometimes, but most of the time I try to not charge a blue, especially on some of these early aggro matchups. But this guy, if you have a blue-yellow energy at the end of the turn after he's played, you draw 2 and discard 1, and then you restand the energy. So it's a 1 cost that sets you up and helps you dig for your Bojack, which is why mainly reason why I play it. To the only Unison you play in the deck, 3 copies of Vegeta, Unison of Fury. This card is your alt win con. Sometimes this is how you end the game. You don't need more than 3 because you draw so many cards, and it is sometimes nice to draw an extra copy just to place it up under him. But honestly, this guy, you're gonna rest something on your board, and then usually it's your vanilla or your poutine, and you put a marker on this, and then you gain a marker, so it goes up to 4 whenever you play him for 3 energy, and then you attack after -3, dual attack, double strike, 20k, and it's pretty solid for in game. Also, I forgot to say that it rests one of your opponent's energy, which is pretty cool. 2 Giant Ball. This card is pretty insane against Dark Broly, so it's basically like a tech to make sure that you don't die to that deck very easily, and this plus Poutine will make you stay a little longer in the game. 1 Vegeta's Final Flash. This card is super good. I do side another copy, but you draw so many cards that this card can just be a blowout. They just go all in on you, and they think that they're safe with their Cell Xeno or whatever it is happen to be, and boom, take away all its skills. This did come up a few times against Vegex too. 4 Senzu Bean. It's the best. 2 Poutine, the Dark Sorcerer. This is a super good card, and you do need to pay attention when you play this deck because you will miss the trigger for you to play this. Giant Ball also rests something when it comes into play and draws your card if you didn't know what it did, and then you can play this if you don't happen to have yours a Monster Super combo. So that's another way to do it. So sometimes you play this and Bergamo in the same play, which is pretty crazy. Secret Identity Massam, the only overwhelm in her deck. This is yellow deck. The yellow deck needs removal. I wasn't going to side a second one. I was siding a second one, but I never felt like I needed it. So I changed it up for another card, and I'll talk about it in a second. And then your secret rare of choice in this deck is Spring Kai Time. This card is a lifesaver sometimes because it is removal along with your Massane. But this card, if it resolves 40k attack, pay 1, warp their entire board, including Unison, as long as it doesn't have barrier. This card is expensive, but it's super good. To the side, a lot of times I didn't have to side. This is for Reboot Gohan. This is an extra copy for Dark Broly. 2 Flying Nimbus for just aggro in general, if I felt like I needed it, but I never put this in. 2 Quetzalcoatl. I didn't play against any rival decks, but this is what it's for, mainly for like the cooler spam decks. Because off your Goku Black, you can discard this, which is pretty strong. And you don't overrun a lot, so this guy will stick. And if on your go-in turn, you can play this, but or it can also be just good against Topo. But I'm not sure if I want to keep this on the side, to be honest. Quetzalcoatl is kind of seemed like over kill. Then you got Bardock Fully Unleashed. I put this on over the second Black Massam. This is what I must side against Dark Broly along with this. But a lot of times you don't get to 4 turns and actually reliably want to play this. And I don't want to charge over 4 energy in this deck in most cases. So it's best on 5 energy with a bean or 2. And it's just really hard to keep a board against Dark Broly, so this card becomes less impactful. So I think this is the way, honestly. But both of these are good cards against Dark Broly. 1 copy of this. I may bump this up to 2. Mainly because the Quetzalcoatl and the Flying Nemesis didn't seem that necessary, but I could see this being pretty good. This is a good negate, and it also has an additional ability for removal. And yellow lacks in removal. 1 extra Vegeta Final Flash. This card's super good, and I stated I sided a second copy of Swift Retaliation Cooler for those decks that really need to stop their counters. And then 2 Son Goku and Absolute Annihilation. This card, I tried it once. I want to use it against Mecha, but I just didn't play against any at locals. Michael happened to not be there most of the time. But I appreciate you guys watching the video, and if you guys like the Gohan Higher Dragon deck, leave comments below about what you like about the deck, and tell me what you think is interesting about the changes that I made, and maybe things I could change in my side deck. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.